Hello, NixCon. I'm gonna introduce Silvan, and he's gonna talk about the official Nix formatter and how it all happened.
Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, welcome. I'm Infinisil, or Silvan. You might have seen me around. I work at Tweak, and I'm also an organizer for this year's NixCon. I probably shouldn't have signed up to do a talk like this while organizing the conference, but I'm kind of really glad because I really want to talk about this. I think it's really cool. So yeah, so situation about a year ago, I think that's something many of you might relate to, hopefully not as many anymore, where you contribute a PR, you feel like the merge is close, but you get requests to change formattings and like add new lines, remove indentation, and so on. And that's just really kind of draining as especially a newcomer when you need to address these. Like you look at languages like Go and Rust and think, oh, why can't we have something like Go FMT or something like that? Yeah, and so there's a lot of experiences like this, and so it didn't take me long to find one of these, or two, or three, or actually a whole bunch of. So yeah, it's been a common occurrence. People have been annoyed about this. Are there more? There are more. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. So yeah, it's clear that something needed to be improved, and efforts have started like almost 10 years ago already, with an experimental formatter being written in 2016. 2019, the first practical one. Coincidentally, like both are named NixFMT, completely different projects though. But so be it. Yeah, but if we look at the timeline of all the formatters, 8 of them in total have been written over time. But many of them just more experimental, but if we look at the timelines of the commits, we can see that 3 really stand out. That's Seracal's NixFMT, Nix Community, Nix Packages FMT, which Jonas wrote and I think funded to some degree as well, and Alejandro, which is a bit more recent. Yeah, so these are the 3 that are really coming into question here. And so soon after, we had some formatters, an RFC was opened to try to settle the debate and pick one, and of course everybody agreed. And we had some discussions, right? Like, but yeah, everybody said yes, of course. Well, actually, there were a little bit of discussions, so people had to discuss the details a bit more and then reach consensus, right? Actually, no, there's a bit more to it, and actually there's even more to it. There's a whole bunch of 100 comments to talk about this. But that's what the bike shedding was about, so you don't have to do it in PRs. So, yeah. But yeah, eventually, we had an RFC approved for this. And so, I mean, initially it was fairly simple, but with a team forming and developing over time, it evolved into something different. So we have here kind of 5 main points. There is define an initial Nix, standard Nix format. So that's well, you can see the outline on the right. It's a document that describes how each syntactic element should be formatted. It's not like a full specification, but like roughly how it should look like. Then we have, second point, establish a Nix formatter team who is in charge of maintaining the formatter, updating the Nix packages, updating Nix packages with the format, reformatting it, and so on. We have create the official Nix formatter implementation, so that needs to conform to the standard, but can also be switched around. So like we don't need to pick a single language, we can also change it over time as long as it conforms to the standard. We have that Nix packages should be reformatted with the official Nix formatter. And finally, if you have if Nix itself gets a default formatter, it should be the official one, of course. And so yeah, that's what we ended on. A whole bunch of time was spent trying to figure out all the details of the standard, especially. That's the largest part of this document. But I think we arrived at something really nice, so happy about that. Yeah, and so then it was approved. So, well, that took like 2 years, something like that. But eventually it was approved, and then we got to implementing it. So, for one, the actual code itself. So we based our implementation on Serical's NixFMT. And so Pygames, big shout out, made all of the changes, spent a lot of time to tweak it, to make sure it works, and so on. So I just want to give Pygames is not here, but a big shout out to Pygames for doing this. And yeah, and then we also talked to Serical, and they said, yeah, we're happy to transfer the repository, make it official, and essentially, yeah, transfer it to official ownership. So that's also, I mean, also shout out to Serical for doing this. We didn't have to write all of this ourselves. But so if you're still reminiscent of the Serical's formatting, you can still get it. It's a frozen version, but NixFMT Classic and Nix packages, you can still get it. The new one is Nix packages, the packages.nixfmt RFC style. So that has existed for a while. It has been updated over time. And now after 25.11, you can also get it at packages.nixfmt. So that's going to point to the official one. Yeah, but so then the kind of harder part to do is Nix packages reformatting. And so it's, I hope I can describe it or explain it fairly well. But so imagine Nix packages as like this stack of unformatted files, and we want to transfer that to, like, move it to an entirely green stack, which represents an entirely formatted, like a uniformly formatted Nix packages. And so the kind of easiest thing you might imagine doing is reformatting the entire code base and saying that, okay, now we're going to have CI that checks that all files are going to be formatted. And this sounds good because when you make a PR, so you kind of branch off there down, and you change a file and you don't make it uniform anymore, then CI complains. It's red, it says not all the files are formatted. But there's a problem where PRs that have been opened before you introduce the CI, they are still green, like there's no requirement for them to rerun all the tests. And so if you merge one of those PRs, you just get the base branch broken, master broken. And so so there's a fix for that, that's merge queues, I'll get to that a bit later. But right now we don't have those in Nix packages, so that would be a problem. And so the alternative that we went for is to check that if a file is formatted already in the base branch, it needs to keep being formatted. So that's a per file requirement for maintaining the formatting. And so you can make PRs like this, where you make another file green, you format another file, and CI is fine, yeah, nothing to worry about. It wasn't formatted before, but now it is, that's not a problem. Whereas if you do something like this, where you have these two green files and you make one of them orange, it's going to complain because one of the files that was formatted before is not anymore. And that works well because you can also do an entire tree write reformat and merge that, and it's going to be fine. And if someone comes along and then merges one of those older PRs that didn't have the new checks yet, it's also going to be fine because there's no check to ensure that all the files are formatted in the code base. It's just on this per PR basis. And so we did that in, well, you can do multiple passes of this tree write format then, just over time until all the old PRs are kind of merged and no one merges them anymore. So we did that in July 2024. We introduced the CI to check files keep being formatted. And yeah, here merge queues briefly, so these would fix that problem, would make it a lot easier because then CI runs it with the latest checks all the time before merging. And we actually tried this before with Mergify, I think, but that broke miserably. It opened like 100 PRs in Nix packages in like an hour, so had to stop that. But we're experimenting with something new, and that's Wolfgang Walter. You might have seen him on GitHub recently. He's experimenting with that, and we might enable that in like next couple of weeks, see if it works. I would fix a bunch of problems. Yeah, and so then how did we do the next steps? So about 3 months later, after we introduced this this enforcement for if a file is formatted, it needs to be formatted, needs to keep be formatted. We made a tree-wide change for inactive files. And so we made this in two passes. So inactive files were defined as files that aren't touched by any PR with activity in the past 2 months. So it's kind of like PR, like files for long-term packages that don't need a lot of updating. And so we formatted all of those. So that's a diff of multiple 100,000 lines, but 20,000 files of them. And that worked well. There's also a commit, so we can be sure that it's actually the right change, and there's nothing like slipped in. Yes, and so another 4 months later, we did another tree-wide change, and that time we actually did both format everything and introduce CI to make sure everything keeps staying formatted. So I'm happy to say Next package is fully formatted and will stay that way for the future. Yes. What's also kind of interesting here is that the diff of these two PRs is about the same, but the files are like an order of magnitude lower. So you really have, I guess these often touched files are bigger, I think. That's why it's still kind of an interesting statistic here. But yeah, so how do you, like if you're a developer for Next packages, what can you do now to make sure it's formatted? So one thing you can do is we use TreeFMT. TreeFMT is a great project. It allows you to format an entire tree, and it has some really good utilities to making sure that it works, like caching it and things like that. Parallelism as well, so we don't need to bother implementing parallelism in NixFMT itself. So yeah, you can now run nixshell --run TreeFMT, also some other commands if you want. And yeah, so actually Nix packages has a shell.nix as well now. That's a kind of recent addition. So that works, but that's a bit slow, so like 1 or 2 minutes if you start from scratch. The caching isn't like 100% ideal, so if you switch like the work tree or check out a different commit, it kind of resets the cache. There's a bug for that, but we can fix that. Otherwise, it would be just 1 second or below. But if you just work on files, you can set up your editor to run TreeFMT on the files directly on save. Or you can also run it manually if you don't have that set up, but that's my recommendation. And you might ask why TreeFMT and not NixFMT directly. TreeFMT can also do things like for example, we can configure the indent size for NixFMT. Let's say a different project has a different indent size, and so then TreeFMT passes the right arguments to NixFMT, so you don't need to bother remember which arguments to pass. Yeah, so that works now. If you have a third-party project and you want to use NixFMT, I recommend NixFMT-tree, a relatively new addition. That allows you to fairly easily set up NixFMT, Nix-based FMT with flakes. It allows you to set up it easily into a make shell. So that is kind of like a pre-packaged NixFMT package that works by default for Nix files. And TreeFMT, so it's TreeFMT with NixFMT. And it's a bit confusing, the naming, because there's TreeFMT Nix as well. So there's NixFMT tree and TreeFMT Nix. Don't mind it too much, but might need one or the other. Yeah, and so very recently we had the first kind of stable release for NixFMT. So that's effectively, I say, the milestone of completing the RFC. So we did all the things. We reformatted Nix packages. We also fixed some bugs in formatting and made some minor changes and stuff like that. And yeah, so the style has been implemented with 1.0. The transfer has been completed from Serical. And going forward, there's still going to be some changes, like we can't freeze the formatting forever. There's bugs to fix and so on. But you can expect the formatting to stay fairly stable. If it would change, it would be like a different project or NixFMT 2.0 or something like that. Yeah, so for the future, what are the plans? So right now, what Nix package is formatted, what is there left to do, right? So there's some maintenance tasks to do. It's a Haskell code base, so We always also need to update like GHC and stuff like that, make sure it keeps building. There's some fixes to do, some formatting improvements. There's a lot of like edge cases that we might need to fix, so it's not 100% perfect. There's Nix language changes coming sometimes, like we have a new like pipe operator, I think, in experimental mode, so you can try that out, and it works with NixFMT already. We need to maintain Nix packages formatting and CI in there, so occasionally CI breaks, or people also ask about how you do this or that. The formatting team gets pinged there sometimes to resolve something. And then third-party packages improve the state-of-the-art, how to use it. Maybe something like a built-in GitHub action that allows you to easily get the formatting right and so on. That might be nice. And so actually, I want to welcome, the Nix formatting team, the members who are here right now, to the stage. And just to get some, we are not all here, so Pygames and Sergey on the right there are not here. But at least we have 4 here. I think someone is missing, yeah. But yeah, so you can ask us about formatting stuff. We're around NixCon. So yeah, talk to us. So we have open meetings every 2 weeks, so you can just join and see what's going on. Help out, we appreciate the help. We are looking for Haskell wizards, so if you have staff and want to help out, that would help a lot. And I think it's a really great team because we have a really kind of well-defined, clear authority. Oh, Philip.
I wondered if you could share some of the Git merge filter stuff that you did to make the life of people whose PRs were broken.
Oh, yeah. So he's asking about if I can share something about the Git merge tool, I think. Oh, there's multiple ways. So there's a Git merge tool mode in NixFMT, which there's a Git merge tool kind of framework in Git itself, which allows you to resolve conflicts automatically. So if you run into conflicts with NixFMT-based requirements, then there's some tools for that. There's a discourse post as well. Talk to us, we'll show you how to do it. And so what I wanted to say here as well is that we have a really clear defined authority and responsibilities, like it's maintaining the formatter and maintaining the format in Nix packages. And we have a project board, we keep track of what we need to do, and it's not a lot of work because it's really maintenance mode right now, but that's going really well. And so actually, yeah, so I've kind of led the team essentially. It wasn't a team 3 years ago, but 3 years ago, more or less, in the RFC, I kind of pushed for getting it done, and that essentially established the team. And so I've done that for 3 years, and I have a lot of other hats by now. And so recently I've passed off leadership to Jeremy here, who has gladly taken up the position. Thank you, Jeremy, actually, for doing that. Yeah, and so I think for me, I should focus on other things. It's really hard if you have too many things going on. And like Jeremy has been doing a great job leading the team. So I'm going to pass that officially off, and I'm going to not be involved very much in the team. So I'm going to remove myself from the team. And yeah, I'm going to watch from the background, see how it goes. And I'm sure they're doing a great job. So yeah, thanks to have been part of the team, and I wish you great luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. All good. Thank you.
You Silvan.
Oh, 1 sec.
No.
Finally, I also need to thank Tweak. So a lot of the work for this has been sponsored by Tweak. So thanks a lot for Tweak as well. I've been working there for over 4 years now, and it's been great. We also have four people here, so Andreas, me, Valentin, and Guillaume are somewhere around. You might see them with like a shirt like this with a colorful thing at the back. So yeah, talk to us. If you support Tweak, you support indirectly me, and that helps a lot as well. So yeah, thank you. That's my last slide, but I can take Q&A. So thank you.